Each one of us has a story. Our journey has and is continuously impacting us. By listening to my guests share how they are discovering their best self, you will discover the best part of you. And welcome to Discover Your Best Self podcast. Thank you so much, Cora from Young King Hair Care, for joining us today. I am so excited to jump right into this interview because you are the first person that I've had on here, specifically a market for young Black males. And how fitting today is Juneteenth, although this won't be airing on Juneteenth, but I'm really excited that we were able to connect today on this day. I think that this is a special day for us to be able to come on here and really just talk about the power of your product and why it's so important for people like you and I and our audience to be exposed to something like this. So let's jump right into it. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Yep. So Cora Miller, I am born and raised Southern California, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So you actually kind of see my signs in the back. Shout out to both of those states. And I was raised, like I said, in Southern California, single mom growing up, instilling in me, education and just that grind to pursue a career that I loved and enjoyed. And it's so funny because people have asked me before, did you always know grow up you were going to be an entrepreneur? And I was like, not at all. Like I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be where I'm at today. And so that's really special to me, knowing that that's something that necessarily wasn't top of mind, but that, I'm here and I did it and started a company.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. What is it in, and how did you start on this entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, so it was actually funny enough a journalism major, and then I went to graduate school to get my master of public administration and nonprofit management. So I always knew I wanted to work in a field where I was giving back, and plus I was a good writer, right? So I liked communications, I liked public relations. So those were all areas that were passion of mine. And so I kind of combined the two and did, I had a kind of a unique career journey. So I actually started off, my first job was working at a university, and I was doing kind of advising for students of color on the campus and planning these really dope kind of fun events for Black History Month, for step shows and things like that. So just doing really fun activities for the students of color there. And then I ended up randomly helping to open a charter high school here in Atlanta. And so I did operations, I did communications and outreach. And that was just a really cool experience because, I love kids, and I love empowering our youth. And so that was just a unique experience and an opportunity for me to literally, see our education system firsthand and literally open a school to really support students in the community here. And then randomly, I ended up in corporate America and started working in social responsibility, which really is kind of the company's way to give back to the communities.
Okay. What's social responsibility in corporate America? What does that look like?
Yeah, so what it looks like is kind of using the company's money to reinvesting in communities that are really kind of important and meaningful for a number of reasons. So there's either, and I work for a healthcare company, so we always look at areas where we know there are big healthcare challenges,
disparities,
especially and disparities and inequities. So we always try to make investments to really address those key challenges.
Isn't that so fitting for right now? And
exactly.
All of the companies that are
exactly
now they want to have a social responsibility, part of their company to reinvest in communities, which they should have been doing anyway. But
exactly. Yeah. So I've actually been doing that work for 7 years.
That's awesome.
And it's been really rewarding. But at the same time, I think to your point about kind of companies' responses and what they're doing, I would say this across for any company, like we should have been stepped up. Like,
exactly.
No matter even if a company already had a social responsibility initiative or programs, there was much more that could have could be done.
Yeah.
And so, I was personally happy that my company stepped up in a big way, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, this is exactly why I want to move into the path where I'm able to directly support the community through my business. So
Yeah. And
that's a whole nother
honestly,
story.
but that's really good. And actually, when you think about it, our paths are very well, our paths are similar. I went to school for broadcast journalism,
Oh yeah.
but when you look at it, it really makes sense to where you are now because you
Mhm.
have that, that social responsibility, in your blood. You want to enrich and impact the youth, and so
Yeah.
you're doing that through your product that you have now. And so, tell us about your product and the impact that that has.
Yeah, absolutely. So Young King Hair Care, we're a plant-based natural hair care line intentionally crafted for multicultural boys. And I was just really inspired by my son, who is now 3 years old, but
Mm-hmm.
he was born literally with a lot of hair, which is crazy because, I always said I wanted a boy because I didn't want to have to deal with all the hair. And then I get a boy that has all the hair. So, so I very early on was just trying to find products to help me kind of style and groom his hair. And of course, I have natural hair. Well, I have braids now, but I have natural hair.
Right.
So, of course, I'm familiar with how to maintain and take care of natural hair. But when I was looking for products that, felt like they represented a young boy, nothing, something that was beyond just kind of the pink bottles with little girls on the packaging, and didn't also smell like a grown man. Like I didn't
Right.
want him to walk around smell like a grown man for a little boy. And there was literally nothing that I could find. And then I started talking to other friends of mine that have boys and just asking them, like, what have you seen? What do you use? And it was always like, yeah, I haven't seen anything for boys and particularly. So I just use my products on them.
Yeah, it's really
Uh,
interesting you say that because this morning when I'm going back to my curly hair, which I used to wear big and then I started straightening it again. So now, but when
yeah.
I was doing my hair, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. I was like, all of this stuff smells feminine and very
Feminine.
girly. And
Yeah.
little boys, they want to feel like they have their stuff. Like, this isn't for me, this is for girls. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
you're right. They have
Exactly.
little girl stuff. I
Hmm.
have a daughter and I can find stuff for them. They have the kids section, but they have it under
Yes.
kids, but it's still very feminine.
Very feminine. Very feminine. You
Yeah.
nailed it. It's feminine scented, feminine marketed, feminine design. And so it's like, what about our boys,
Yeah.
right? I firmly believe that representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I wanted to create products that felt made for any boy, including my son, that they could be
Yeah.
proud to wear and really own and say, this is for me.
Yeah. And you know
And I
what?
think,
Now that boys are wearing their hair out, because maybe
mhm,
that was why everybody was getting fades and wearing the really
yeah,
low cuts. But
cutting it
yeah,
off,
now
and
the
yeah,
boys, they're wearing their curls and, all the athletes, they're doing it. So
exactly.
yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was just this idea that we shouldn't, as a parent, we shouldn't have to just default to cutting off our son's hair
Mm-hmm.
just because we either didn't know what to do with it, or we may have had a daughter and we have to spend all our time taking care of their hair. So it's like, for my boy, that's not really relevant. Like,
Right.
he's a boy, he'll deal with it. And so it's just this idea of kind of changing that mentality, to really educate our boys on the importance of hairstyling and hair maintenance and just grooming overall. I
Mm-hmm.
think we spend a lot of time teaching our girls that, but not that same energy into our boys.
Right. That's a really valid point. And so, how has this impacted your your son or even
Mhm.
your customers? Like, what are the things that people have been saying and the response
Oh
to
my
this?
gosh. We have gotten so many love notes,
Oh, wow.
just so much love for this brand. And people saying, oh my God, yes, like, why doesn't my son have product? Even, they didn't even realize that they, were missing something.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that, seeing our brand and especially our mission and what we're trying to do, and celebrating our young boys and their natural hair care journey, they're like, absolutely, yes, I'm for that. I'm sharing with my friends, my family. Like,
Yes.
people have
Yeah.
just been so supportive. And we appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. we're pretty much kind of word of mouth right now, grassroots.
Yeah.
And just trying to, increase awareness of what we're trying to
Mhm.
do. And
Mhm.
so slowly but surely, though, we're coming on up,
I
and
cannot wait to
people are
share
kind of saying,
this with my friends and family. My brothers, they wear their, I have three brothers, and so
uh,
they all wear their hair out, and, they have sons,
mhm,
and, that is important for representation for them to feel like they belong as well.
mhm.
And then also, just like you said, having something for them and addressing a need that the market didn't know that they needed. So,
Exactly.
so yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Because and for me, my vision was always to bring this to retail so that when you walk into any store that you'll be able to see Young King
Mhm.
Hair Care on shelves. And
Mhm.
how important is that moment for a boy walking down the natural hair care aisle to say, Young King, that's for me.
I love the name
Um,
of it.
yeah. Yes. We got to celebrate and elevate their crowns. They are royalty. They will always
Absolutely.
be royalty, and no one should tell them any different.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And has there been any significant changes with the COVID, or has it helped or hurt, or what are some things that you've seen?
Yeah, Rona 2020.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, when we first started out, again, we were very much like grassroots. We were just trying to do a whole bunch of events, both locally and then kind of places near us where
Sure.
we could just start to share the brand and have
Mhm.
these type of conversations to let people know what we're doing and why it's important. We just felt that face-to-face interaction it was just key for a new brand like us.
Yeah.
And so we had all of these events lined up and scheduled. And then, of course, Rona hit, totally canceled everything.
Yeah.
The good thing is that, we knew we needed to quickly pivot. We had only launched December 2019.
Oh
And then,
wow.
of course, Rona happened in
Yeah.
like March. So that's not a lot of months for us to actually be in market. So we know we needed to quickly pivot. So what we did was focus on, kind of our digital marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So we stepped it up on kind of our social channels. We started doing actual paid advertising. We started working with influencers to just share more about our products. So we just kind of really stepped it up in that
Mhm.
way. And that has actually been really impactful.
Yeah.
So much so that we're like, we probably should have started off that way.
Yeah, yeah. It actually makes you, this has really challenged us in ways, but it's also really made us be more creative,
Correct.
and reaching out to people in ways that we didn't before, and thinking that we always have to be in person. And
Right.
for me it was really challenging because I'm such a people person. I
Yeah.
love being in front of people. I'm in sales, and naturally that's just who I am, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really forced me to challenge myself to find another direction, and connecting with people,
Correct.
and reaching out to people who aren't local. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Mm-hmm.
really been awesome because now, I mean, we live in a global economy and a
Mm-hmm.
global world where we can really talk to anyone anywhere at any time.
Exactly.
And so that is the amazing part of it, the beautiful part of it, that you're not limited. So it's
Right.
almost like at first you're limiting yourself, you're narrow, and then now you're like, wait, I actually can do whatever I want. And then
Ex-
it's like, okay, now I can do more, and then
yeah.
yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we always hear we live in a digital world, but that
Hmm.
didn't really become apparent until, Rona hit,
Yeah.
really. Like, then it was like, oh, for real, we can reach people across the globe. Like, we can
Hmm.
reach people beyond our network and our usual circles and our communities. Like, being online, like our online presence, and using Zoom call and everything like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I think it just revealed, at least for us, and I think a lot of businesses, that our reach is so much deeper than we could have imagined.
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking because, we live in such a diverse world, right? And Houston, I don't know if you know, this is one of the most diverse cities in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And, I come across so many people, young boys, and, from all different cultures and backgrounds. And so your product really does reach those people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
for sure in different countries, I mean, where there's a huge, you know, African descent, um, population, and so
Mhm.
your reach, you can really, I'm like, wow, you could, your product can really be anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that again, when I mapped out my vision and just talking to my husband, shout out to Stefan Miller for being the
Mhm.
co-founder of this. But, I always knew I wanted to take this global. To your
Mhm.
point, you know, Black, brown people all across the globe, the world. I think for them, the important fact of just having, something that feels like it was made for them, regardless of their culture, their
Right.
background. Our hair is unique; it's
Mhm.
different, and so having products that are, tailored to meet your needs as a Black and brown boy, as a growing man, is so important, regardless of where you're at in the world.
Yeah. And so what should we expect in the near future from you guys?
Well, so this fall we'll be launching two new products,
Ooh,
so that's
exciting.
exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we always get, we let me just say, we started out specifically focusing on styling products. And that's because, one, for me, that's where I needed a lot of help with and like
Mhm.
those daily kind of styling tools and products. And then two, when I actually surveyed about 100 parents to ask kind of what products would they want to see the most, it was styling. So
Right.
that's why we came out with those products first. And of course, soon after, everyone's like, okay, where's the shampoo and conditioner? Like, I'm gonna need
Uh-huh.
that too. So
Uh-huh.
so we're working on those, and those will launch this fall. And we're also preparing to launch in store very soon.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I can't tell you who right yet, but
Okay.
coming to a store near you very soon.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it on the shelves.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
we're
gonna be really
excited.
cool. Well, I will say this. I don't know what store, but I've been seeing so much representation in a lot of our major stores, and so when you go
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, you don't feel as left out. I remember in college, I'm from Ohio, and
Mm-hmm.
we would go to the stores and could not find anything. We would have to either go back
Right.
to our cities or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or go to the hood or something like that to go find products just for us, or go to like the hair, the Asian, hair store, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You couldn't just go to Walmart or Target or anything like that. And
Yeah.
now you can even go to the grocery store and find
Yeah.
our products there, because
Right.
we're there. You can't ignore
We're
us.
right.
Yeah.
We show
So
up everywhere, like
exactly,
everywhere, every
everywhere.
part, like from our the dollars that we spend to our culture, like we're everywhere. So it really didn't make sense for us not to be on shelves, like
Right.
us to be
Right.
represented on shelves. But I'm glad that that's happened over the past couple of
Yeah.
years.
And
It,
I'm
it should
glad
have
that it's us that are creating the products for us, because we
correct.
know that what needs to, what's good for us, because we're the we are the product. We're the people that have to use it.
Exactly. Yeah, we know better than anyone because we
Exactly.
deal with it every single day of our
For
lives.
sure, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so tell me, what are the benefits that you would say for using your products?
Yeah, so we're plant-based, we're vegan, we have no parabens, no sulfates, no mineral oils, none of the harmful ingredients. And that
Mhm.
was really important to me.
Mhm.
The products that I wanted to use for my son and even myself, I want to promote healthy hair growth. I want to promote natural hair growth. I don't want to damage the hair. And so that's what our products are all about.
Yeah.
And so we created kind of this easy regimen, this 1, 2, 3 step system to help with all of that. So we have
Right.
a leave-in conditioner, an essential oils, and a curling cream, which
Mhm.
you can use daily or depending on your hair type, you might not need to use all three every day. It just kind of depends.
Right.
But it's all about kind of keeping hair moisturized. That's
Yeah.
first and foremost. Moisturized and hydrated, being able to define those curls
Mhm.
and kind of wear it and style it however you see fit. You want to wear it out, wear it out. If you want to braid it up, braid it up. But
Right.
just making sure you still have those products and tools that you're keeping your hair hydrated, moisturized, and taking care of it so that it's not damaged.
Yeah, yeah. And and why should we strive to, support businesses like you, Black businesses, especially now. I mean, I've
Yeah.
always been very intentional about it. And, for some things, most things I'm like, what is this product? Who are they? I love learning about, where I'm eating or who owns it or, those type of things. I've always been very conscious of it, but even more so now. So tell us the importance
Correct.
of that for you.
Yeah, for me, supporting Black owned businesses means supporting Black communities. It
Mm-hmm.
means strengthening our Black communities. It means, especially, in our community, closing that racial gap,
Yeah.
a racial and wealth gap, I meant to say, racial and wealth gap. Like this idea of generational wealth and how we're creating that for our families and for our communities. It's about showing people in our community that you can build something from nothing
Yeah.
and make it work because we're supporting each other to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're successful. So even before launching my company, I've always tried to find ways to really support Black owned businesses because they're doing it
Mm-hmm.
and they're showing us that we can do it as well.
Yeah, yeah. And Cora, I know you mentioned, your impact that you're having on your community and the things that you've done, but what else do you want to leave? What are some other impacts that you want to make on your community or, here with your product?
Yeah. So, I always tell people Young King Hair Care is more than just hair care. Really, we're about changing this narrative around our Black and brown boys.
Yeah.
And so we want to do that by celebrating them, by uplifting them, by cheering them on and showing everyone across the globe that they matter, their lives matter, that they mean something, and that they are royalty.
Oh, yeah.
And so our brand, I like to say we're a mission driven brand. That's what we're all about. So we want to support any organizations that are all about uplifting and mentoring our Black boys. So that's the impact that we're
Yeah.
trying to achieve and have.
And I think that you're doing that, every day when you're pushing your product and people are supporting you, they understand the significance of that and it's a good product.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that,
thank you. I
yeah.
know. Check our reviews. I promise you. It's good. People love it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think, that we also have to demystify those, demystify is that we as Black people can provide great service, provide great products, and we have to hold true to that, so that we can
Correct.
keep our clients and it's not just Black people who support us, other people support us too. So always giving that service so that people want to come back to us.
Correct. Yeah.
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 And so, last question that I love to ask everyone, which is tell me what to you does it mean to discover your best self?
I love that question. Discovering your best self to me means finding what your it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? It means really, we always say we have a passion for things, but one thing that I've heard recently that someone said who's another entrepreneur, it's finding like what you're obsessed about,
Mm.
and taking that obsession and turning it into something that other people can become obsessed about, right? Like,
Right.
so, I think when you go through that kind of personal reflection and internalization of what my it is, what is something that I'm deeply, it's beyond even passion, what I'm deeply like to my core represents who I am, and taking that and making something of that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that right there is like the aura of which we all try to and strive to achieve.
Right.
and, and so I feel like, for me, it's starting with Young King Hair Care, but it's moving beyond that. Like I have so many big ideas and dreams for, how to really grow Young King Hair Care and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think about discovering my best self, I feel like I'm just getting started. It's a journey, and I know I'm on the right path, and I think everyone should you know just starting off on that journey, just finding what that it is for
Yeah.
them.
I mean, I love that answer. Definitely finding your it. And if you don't mind me asking, I just want to know because, and the reason why I asked this, let me tell you first before I ask the question. The,
Okay.
the reason why I asked this is because some people, they believe like, oh, I'm already, in my 30s, I'm already 40, whatever it is. And, if I haven't been entrepreneur now, it's too late, or all of these things.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories of people who, and it's not even about necessarily being an entrepreneur, but finding their love or whatever it is that keeps them motivated each day, and they just give up and they're like, oh, well, I might as well just keep doing this over here. So how old are you?
Oh, girl. No, I'm 34,
Okay.
so I'm in my mid-30s.
Okay, we're the same age.
Yeah. And to that point of I'm too old or I can't start now, there is nothing holding you back. Again, when I started Young King Hair Care, this was 2018, so I was 32. And there are definitely entrepreneurs that have started in their early 20s and have made it work. But I think age is so irrelevant. I think it just goes back to my original point earlier. Once you find what your it is and what you're absolutely obsessed with, then nothing can stop you and hold you back. Regardless of whatever position you're in, financially, spiritually, even your age, like physically, or from that standpoint, like nothing can stop you once you're on that journey.
One of my favorite movies is Benjamin Button. And one of my favorite quotes in that movie, I think of one of my favorite quotes, period, is, never be afraid to get up and start all over again. Because in life, discovering your best self is so much about that, right? That, sometimes we just have to start over, and it's okay. And even with all of the lessons and experiences that we've learned, like, your background, you have a corporate background, you have nonprofit skills, you have your broadcasting skills, your writing, and all of that attributes to what you're doing now. And I think people neglect.
Comes full circle.
Yeah, it comes full circle. People neglect those things, and they don't want to add those experiences, and they want to skip past that. And sometimes we have to fall and bump our head before we can get to that other side, and we forget those things.
Right. I think so. And I think, to that point, it's all about kind of your stamina and enduring those times, because it's not easy. It's never going to be easy.
Right.
And, even for Young King Hair Care, we had so many bumps in the road, like a lot. I won't even get into all of them. But it's just about that endurance. And again, when you have your it and you know what it is and you're completely obsessed about it, like nothing's going to stop you. And you'll wake up every day just grinding and just trying to figure it out. And that's where I think when you're in those moments, that's when you realize how strong you really are.
We're so much stronger than what we know.
Exactly. So anyways, I could talk forever on that, but
well, this has been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to meet, and it's by happenstance that we did, but nothing is by accident. And so I'm so excited that we got to meet, and I'm able to share your story because I think it's so significant, especially now. And I'm going to share with my friends the product because, like I said, we have to support our businesses, and I think what your product is wonderful. So, and it's necessary. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, and I can't wait to hear more about you guys, and let me know when you guys are on the shows. I'll be
I'll hit you up. But thanks so much for having me. This was such a joy. I really appreciate it.
Yes, happy Juneteenth. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Discover Your Best Self. Don't forget to subscribe and comment. Follow us on Instagram at Discover Your Best Self.